South Africa take on India in the second test between the two nations, and it will be played at the Wanderers. And it's a ground that favors India, who have never lost at the Wanderers against South Africa. They've had three draws and two wins. Most notably, or most recently, it was that series against South Africa at the Wanderers that they played in the 24th 4th of Jan in 2018. It's one that I remember quite fondly. It was a match that I saw live. There was a lot of drama around it because of the pitch. There was a point where we thought that the Wanderers might have been ruled as a dangerous pitch. But India went out and never complained about it and really showed how to bat on that ground. They really soldiered through and they really showed what they were capable of. And I thought that was an excellent showing from India in that particular match. It's the only one that they won in that particular series. So the Wanderers is a very good ground for India when they come and visit. Like I said before, they're unbeaten at the Wanderers, so it's going to be a very difficult match for South Africa. Now we're going to discuss quite a few things. There's a lot of announcements to make. First and foremost, from the ODI team that has been announced, we're going to be touching on that as well, the ODI squad at least, and also the Quinton de Kock retirement thing. What did Dean Elgar say in his press conference leading into this particular test match? We will be covering all of that on today's show. So without further ado, guys, I would like you guys to first and foremost do what you know you have to, and that's subscribe if you're new. Click that notification bell for all future videos, but also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. The link is in the description, and you'll get every single issue, including this latest issue and all back issues 100% free. So go ahead and get that straight away. Without further ado, guys, let's get straight into today's video. Hey everybody, and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host Khalid Moeed. I'm joined by my co-host Aditya today, and we will be discussing the second test between South Africa and India. It will be played at the Wanderers. It's going to be a match that a lot of us are looking forward to. I'm hoping that we see improvement from South African point of view. We heard what Dean Elgar had to say. He was apparently very hard on the players, according to what the vibe I got from the presser, that they had some serious conversations about the way they played and their approach, and they've been discussing the batting lineup, etc. And a lot of things have been discussed, especially how to replace Quinton de Kock. That was a shock to everybody, and I don't think anybody expected that to happen. They haven't really given much more details than the details that Quinton de Kock released it himself. I saw a piece where Boucher had comment on it, and I saw now obviously the press conference from Dean Elgar's perspective where he speaks about it. But the breaking news story and the main story out of that particular press conference, and from what Mark Boucher had to say as well in the article that I saw, I think on Sport 24, is that Calvareno will come in and take the gloves for the match against India at the Wanderers. So that makes it easier for us to select a team, because we know for a fact that there's one certainty, and that's the replacement for Quinton. Because there was a lot of talk between who it will be, whether it will be Ryan, whether it will be Kyle that will take the gloves and replace Quinton, and they are looking at Kyle Verreynne as the replacement. So that's the first sign that we can really look at and confirm. The second question is that extra seamer. Whether we're going to play a spinner in Keshav Maharaj or whether we're going to play that extra seamer. Now, both ways it could possibly suit us both ways. If you're going to play Keshav and keep Keshav and you drop Vian, an extra batter might be used, or you could see Dwan Olivier come straight in for someone like Vian Mulder. That could be a straight swap. But then your tail is quite long, and South Africa's batting is a problem. So there are some people that would like to obviously solidify that batting attack by adding an extra batter into the mix. If Vian Mulder was performing with a bat, then we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, obviously. So let's just start with that, Aditya. If you were sitting in South Africa's shoes, of course, before we get into the India section of this particular preview show, do you play Maharaj in at the Wanderers? It's not necessarily a venue that really suits him, but from what Dean Alga has been saying about him, is he believes that Keshaf is a type of batter that is, I mean, is a type of bowler that is very adaptable to conditions and is able to adapt to to different situations. So first and foremost, let's start with the Keshaf situation.
Um, Look, honestly, I think there is there's always space for a quality spinner like Keshav Maharaj, but I think the real question is, would Keshav Maharaj's inclusion in the 11 bother India more versus versus a pace bowler's inclusion on this Wanderers surface? Because I know Boucher has often talked about having Boucher's often talked about having a spinner, no matter what the conditions are. But um, sometimes when you look at the opposition and you know that the good players of spin, not to mention that the Wanderers isn't exactly a ranked turner. So on that sort of a wicket, is it really going to bother the Indians? I don't think so. I think you're better off going into this test match with an all pace attack. Uh, in addition, given that the Wanderers is likely to be more of a bowler friendly wicket, it's probably advisable for the Proteas to slot in an extra batter, because just overnight South Africa have lost 54 test matches worth of experience, and there's no real way to replace that overnight either. So, uh, yeah, it's Dean Elgar did seem adamant to include a spinner, and there's no doubt about Keshav's quality. But at some point, they're probably going to have to look at the opposition's strength against the spin versus South Africa's team composition.
Mhm. So Werner, let's test your mic one time and with a question as well from my side. It will be about Keshav and obviously we've seen consistency there at least from Dinalga now as well as Boucher that have they have a will to want to play the spinner no matter what the conditions are. They like to have that spinner in the team. Can you maybe elaborate on that and maybe see their thought processes on why they do want that in no matter what the pitch is?
Check one, two. Check one, two.
It works.
Fine. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Uh, I guess I can see the reasoning behind it, especially if they do this. Let's say they do decide to drop Mulder and they play the extra batsman and four bowlers, then it does become a bit of a risk not having a spinner, because if one of your pace bowlers breaks down, then the whole toll will be on the remaining three pace bowlers, which can get a lot across the test match. And it's always good to have a spinner on days 4 and 5 for in case it does start turning. But I don't agree, actually. I would not play Kesh at the Wanderers. He wasn't really used at Supershort Park as Centurion, and I don't believe he will be used much at the Wanderers either. If we look at the domestic matches this season, spinners have not been useful at all at the Wanderers, and the pace bowlers have been running through lineups. And the way that the Indian batters played Kesh, they really had no problem. And to be fair, I know Alga said he didn't bowl too badly, but I don't actually agree. I think he had one of his worst games at Centurion. He bowled almost a four delivery, let's say, every over. They were putting away short balls, putting away over pitch deliveries. I don't think he was at his best, and I don't think he will be used that much at the Wanderers. So I would personally play four seamers.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, that's something that I think should happen. I think Duan Olivier needs to come into the side. I think it's at home where he's dominated now. It's somewhere that you'll really be able to exploit, and you'll put India on the back foot. I feel really will. We obviously missing that Anrich Nokia pace. So obviously, Duan Oliveri coming in, he might not be as quick as as Anas, but he's close enough to be able to rush the India batsmen. I feel, and batters. I mean, that was also their weakness. I feel in the series as well. Is there's certain aspects of their batting attack that is a little fragile, and if you get at them and you can knock the first two over at least, you are kind of going to make it harder for them. Kohli, you either get the best of him or you get something in between. So you can get Kohli out. He is not how can I say, a cricketing god at the moment. So he's not in the best of form, in other words. But what a legend he is. So you never know what who will do and how he can hurt you. And so South Africa need to be switched on, and they need to have their best bowlers available to them. And with Marco Jansen playing as well as he has, it's very hard to drop someone after a debut like that. Now, this is something that South Africa is going to have to make. This is the decision I think they're going to have to make, is that Vian Mulder or Marco Jansen debate. Because I feel that Keshav shouldn't be in the side and Duan Olivier should come in. We already have Kyle Verreynne coming in. I also think that KP should be dropped down, and then Temba and Rassi should be moved up, and rather have Kyle and KP battle it at the end to complete that batting lineup. I think that Jansen deserves another opportunity, and maybe Vian Mulder needs to be replaced by someone else. So that's obviously my thought process going into this. What's your thoughts on that, Aaron? Because there are some people that believe that Vian adds balance to the bowling lineup, something different to what Duan Oliveri and what Marco Jansen is going to offer. Where Marco Jansen, Duan Oliveri, Lungingiri, and KG are strike bowlers, a lot of people feel that Vian Mulder might be one of the guys that can hold the end. But for me personally, if he's not producing with a bat, there could be a more lethal bowler that you can bring in that can do maybe a better job than he can with a ball.
Well, yeah, we spoke about that, didn't we, at the end of the first test? And to be honest, at the moment, I'd agree. I mean, Duan Olivier has to come in for this test match. The guy has a test average of 14 at the Wanderers, a ridiculous strike rate. It's his home ground as well. It's a no-brainer for me. Duan Olivier has to come in to this test match. He will offer you a real potent option against this Indian batting lineup. And talking of the Indian batting, before we talk about the whole Vian Mulder debate, you did mention Virat Kohli. Do you know his average at the Wanderers in Test match cricket? Anyone? Have a guess. Have a guess. Do you think it's more or less than 60?
I think it's more than 60.
More than 60.
Yeah.
119 and 96 in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he has an average of 77 in addition to those impeccable batting performances. So watch out for Virat Kohli. 2022 might be his year. Just going to put it out there, Khalid.
100%. I mean, I was, like I said, I was there at the ground, the last game that they played at the Wanderers, and that pitch was horrible. I mean, Dean Alger's head was taken off almost. It was a very difficult pitch to bat on, and I mean, ICC were almost ruled it as a dangerous pitch that they were going to call off the game to that point, and South Africa could have been, or the Wanderers could have been banned for cricket for a year. That was the talk going around at the time, and there was a massive debate about it. And all of us were talking about it constantly throughout the test because it looked very dangerous, and yet Kohli made that pitch look like it was his home ground. So it was an excellent performance. You can never rule someone like, or you can never count someone like Virat out. He was also very successful at Centurion last game around as well. So, but he didn't do it this game. So maybe we can see the same fortunes this time around.
Well, yeah. If you're coming at it from a South African perspective, of course, and going back on track, which was the whole Vian Mulder debate, we did speak about this. I mean, if he's going to fulfil that all-rounder spot, he has to perform with the bat. And in Test cricket right now, He hasn't. He's averaging less than 16 runs with the bat in hand. So for me personally, I don't see him playing in this test match. I'm going to be completely honest. I think for the time being, they'll probably go with Marco Jansen. He offers you something different as well with the angle. I mean, India have got a lot of right-handers. Just that ball coming, well, both away from you and the danger of it coming in with an in-swinger. I think he does offer a little bit of a different threat. So I would stick with Marco. Personally speaking, I'd go with a 7-4 if I was in charge of South Africa. And all of the talk about Keshav Maharaj, it is valid as well. It's very, very valid. The Wanderers, in terms of his bowling average, it's 34. And in the entirety of his test career for South Africa, he's only ever bowled 33 overs at the venue. Now, if you compare that to Duan Olivier, who's had a vastly, vastly lesser test career so far in terms of number of games played, he's bowled 46 overs in just a couple of test matches. So that tells you all that you need to know about the conductive nature for seam bowlers on this surface. So as much as I love spin bowlers, and I will always defend spinners because it's a very, very thankless job. I know as a spin bowler myself, I know having seen how England treat their spinners. But if you are not going to play a spin bowler, there's two venues in world cricket where you don't. And that's the Wanderers and the Wacker. They're the only venues where I would not play a spin bowler because the Wanderers is a seamer's paradise. We know it with that lovely bounce, the lovely carry as well. Seam bowlers lick their lips every single time Wanderers comes up on the calendar. So for me, I'm going all seam attack if I was in charge. And if it does get to the point where you do need that spin, you do need someone to hold up an end, you've got two part-time spinners in Dino Elgar and Aidan Markram. So if you are really desperate, you have still got bowling options. So for me personally, I'm not in charge of South African selection, but I would go 7-4, all seamers. Go for the attack. Go for the kill. Why not try and make this series 1-1?
And we've got those medium to slow seam deliveries from Temba Bavuma as well that we can throw into the mix there.
We need to see those.
I can't remember which test it was when he did bowl. It was I can't
That
remember.
one against Australia where he should have had Sean Marsh first ball and then he overstepped or something.
Yeah.
Of that slow run up.
Yeah, Aditya, I wanna bring you back in here because when Dean spoke about your right-handers, he particularly mentioned Keshav because of the left arm angle option, but it will be more Marco that would hassle your right-handers, I feel. Seeing that the pace that you'll probably get at the Wanderers will also be up a notch.
Yeah, look, I think the right hand or left hand, the right arm, left arm sort of debate is valid in certain circumstances. I don't think it's valid here. Like, a left arm spinner isn't going to bother right arm batters at the Wanderers. That's not going to happen. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I agree with that argument. I agree with Marco Jansen being able to trouble the Indian batters then. Certainly with the steep variable bounce at the Wanderers. So I think Marco Jansen being in that 11 is a no-brainer for me. Keshav Maharaj, unfortunately, look, I'm a huge fan and I have a lot of respect for his craft, but I think given the conditions and given the opposition that he's playing, I'm not sure it's a great idea.
And I think that is exactly where the game will be won, is the selection from a South African point of view. South Africa needs to get their selection spot on, particularly on this particular wicket, according to the conditions that they need to sum it up. Now, I've heard that it's raining. It's been raining hectically at the Wanderers today. From some people have been saying it in our groups, etc. And I'm going to look at the weather forecast site that a lot of the grounds men actually use when they look at forecasts. But I'll just refresh it again because the weather in Joburg and weather in Pretoria in general, you never know what's going to happen. Cape Town, actually, let's just say South Africa because Cape Town is similar. But according to this particular weather report, it only seems like it will rain around 3 or 4 o'clock. that's when we are looking to get rain. So it will only be a short space of time if this weather report is correct. Saying that, however, I still do believe that the Wanderers, you need to take into consideration the conditions that you're playing at, and the team needs to be picked according to that. I think this is not Newlands where they can debate. I feel at Newlands they could debate between Keshav playing or not. I think there is something in it for the spinners at Newlands, especially the newer Newlands now. After construction, after everything that has happened at that pitch, the pitch is not the same like it used to be. I mean, they've gone through two groundsmen in the last 2-3 years now. So it's not exactly the same consistency that we know Newlands to be. I mean, the last 4-day match I saw, there was nowhere near the Newlands that I knew or I've been used to watching at. So it will be different, and I think that the spinner will come into play in that Newlands test. But at the Wanderers, I think South Africa should just throw all their eggs in one basket over here and just go for a seam attack that can take out India, because India, their batting is not necessarily, it is gettable. We can get at them. And Werner, if you had the opportunity to do so, what would be your seam attack going into this particular test match? What would be that from, let's say, 7 downwards, because if you're going to play the extra batter or not?
Yeah, so 7, I would play the extra batter in Rickleton. Even if it is another debut, I think we do need the extra batsman, and we don't have an experienced batsman to bring in at that spot. So we might as well go with a guy who's in form domestically and who can take us forward in the future. Young, enough talent, averages just about 50 in first-class cricket. So I would back him. I would go with Janssen then, Rabada. And now I'm confused about who I have in the team. Mangidi and Olivier, definitely. But I am a bit concerned about the transformation targets. So if they do decide that they play the extra batter in Rickleton, they might end up playing somebody like Steerman ahead of Janssen. So we'll see what happens. But I would personally play Janssen as well and bring in Duan and then also play Rickleton.
Aaron, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the exact same. I mean, we keep on coming back to that common theme, don't we? Play to the conditions. I mean, let's put the, I don't know, let's flip this around. Let's say, for example, this was being played in Chennai or Gaul or Chattogram. You don't play the extra seam bowler, do you? You play the extra spinner. You have to be flexible. You have to be malleable when it comes to your team selection. You can't be rigid. You have to be dynamic. And in a series which is on the line, and let's face it, this is a very, very proud record that South Africa have against India. They haven't lost to them. It's up for grabs. If India win this test, that's gone. The series is gone. And yeah, I mean, we'll have to have quite a few questions, I suppose, at the end of the series. So for me personally, I think I'd actually agree spot on with what Werner said. And with regards to transformation targets, they're over the course of the year. They can always be made up at a later point. So I would go all out attack. Okay, I'm not usually like that. I'm not usually so gung-ho when it comes to my team selection. But what have you got to lose? And also, I want to see the exciting talent. I want to see what the likes of Peterson, Verreynne, Rickleton can do. I want to see what Marco Jansen can do on this surface. Duan Olivier, I want to see him back in Test cricket. It's been a while since we've seen him, and he's had an excellent domestic time, hasn't he? So, yeah, I would go with the exact same as Werner. Maybe switch Ngidi and Olivier's place. I think I'd have Olivier at 11. But yeah,
probably Ngidi at 11, Olivier at 10. Just to talk about what I mentioned about the transformation numbers, I would also like Steerman to play as well. I think he's a great bowler, and he would do very well if he does get the chance. But the thing is, and I know we do talk about it being over the season, but so far we have constantly been below that number in Test. We've been playing 5 instead of 6, I believe. And if we go with the lineup that I have in mind, that would make it 4. And we were going to make it up in that Netherlands series, because you could see we played, I think, eight players of color in that first game. But now we lost out on those 2 matches. We lost out on games against Who was it? Australia, and then we lost out on some other games as well. So I think we're quite behind. So it's not like I would still pick Janssen. I would go with that team. But if I'm thinking about how the selectors generally look at it, it might end up being different.
Yeah, and I can see that that point of view as well. I know that the selectors are worried about the targets because we are behind. And normally we would have had a T20 series or something that we were going to make it up in, and that's what it used to be like. But now with so many games, every game is important. There's so many series being played. There's so many important matches coming up. There's a 2023 World Cup that we need to prepare for. There's another World Cup, T20 World Cup that you need to prepare for. So games are coming thick and fast. I think that the test team is the one that is most up for experimental selections more than any other side at the moment. So I mean, maybe the test side would be the smarter version if you're looking in the long run to make up the numbers, especially when we're looking to find the next generational stars that we need to build around. Um, to an extent, Quentin de Kock's retirement has helped that out a little bit. I don't agree with it. I didn't like the fact that he retired. I mean, I wish he still played on because I think he can be still a massive, massive asset to South African cricket. I mean, I don't think we've seen the best of him yet in long format cricket, but he's made his decision. But it has made it a little easier to give another guys opportunities now. So, a guy like Kyle Verreynne, we've been talking about wanting to build a team, or at least I've been speaking about it, where I said that I'd like them to build a team around him, because of his mentality and the way he plays and the personality that he has and his understanding of what the South African game is about. I think you'd be a great person to build the team around, particularly that middle order. So that is automatically happening right now because of Quinton's retirement over there. But Aditya, I want to ask you, from an India perspective, I mean, I don't imagine that you would be sitting here like fully 100% confident going into this game saying, we're going to slaughter South Africa again. Are there concerns for you from an India perspective?
Well, I guess two things. One is selection. It'll be interesting to see whether they play Ashwin tomorrow or they whether they employ another pacer, because I mean even the Indian bowlers can clock up some pretty serious pace, and that may be useful in at the Wanderers. There's slight concern with batting, the middle order in particular. I think Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane need to score a few runs. Uh, but I guess what is encouraging is that all three of them have got good records at the Wanderers. The last Test match that India played at the Wanderers, which we won, I believe Rahane made, I think, very important 47 in that game, which turned out to be like a match-winning contribution. So I think there is some concern that there is some vulnerability, but I do think I think India will be confident going into the Test match tomorrow.
Aditya, who would you choose out of interest? Because we've spoken here about South Africa going with a 7-4. Do you think that India will, I don't know, potentially play the extra batsman, or do you think they could replace Ashwin with someone like Umesh Yadav? If you were in charge, what would you go for in terms of the Indian balance?
That's a tricky one. I think Hanuma Vihari would be an interesting option at the Wanderers. Um, Hanuma Vihari is an option if they want the additional batter. Uh, but if they're going the additional bowler, I'd probably say they should go with Navdeep Saini, because he had a pretty good tour with the India A team, and he can really crank up the pace. So I think that would be it's a gamble, but that's what I would do.
If I were the Indian selectors, I would probably pick Vihari, to be honest. I think he could do with the extra batsman at the Wanderers. Full pace bowler should be more than enough on that deck. And I believe Vari could also bowl a few medium paces. I don't know. He did,
can.
right?
He can.
So,
He can bowl.
I
saw
would,
it for Warwickshire.
Yeah. So if I were the select, he might even be useful on that type of pitch, with some movement off the deck. So if I were the selectors of India, I would definitely go for Vari in place of Ashwin. I don't think the spinners are going to play a big role.
Okay, let's move on, guys. There was another big announcement that was made today, and that was the ODI squad. I want to put that up on the screen right now for you. And here we go. So we've got it in batters, all-rounders, spinners, and seamers. You've got Yanaman Malan, Temba Bavuma as the captain, Aiden Markram, Zubair Hamza, Rasif van der Dussen, Quinton de Kock, Kyle Verreynne, David Miller. Then as your all-rounders, Wayne Parnell, Marco Jansen, Sisanda Magala, Andile Pekhlekwayo, Dwayne Pretorius, a lot of all-rounders over there. Keshav Maharaj and Tabraj Shamsi as well in the spinning department. Seamers, Kagiso Rabada, Lungi, Ngidi. Now, there are some notable snubs over here, I feel, that you would maybe say, and not a spinner all-rounder that Aaron is thinking of, but but one that I'm thinking of is George Linder. I feel that I don't think he's necessarily had enough opportunities to really be left out of squads when it comes to that. Yes, I understand maybe we have our two spinners or specialist spinners in Keshav and Tabrez, and that's the reason maybe why they're not looking at someone like George. But I think it would have been valuable to have him maybe in the squad, given the amount of pace all-rounders that they've selected over here. They will probably also overlap as paces, because of course, just plain paces, because they've only gone with two specialist paces over here. Anrik Nokia probably still injured, and that's maybe the reason why obviously they didn't select him for this particular squad. And Darren de Pavlon has been someone that has been a little bit, I think, unfairly dealt with when it comes to ODI cricket. He's had an opportunity, looked quite good when he played in ODI cricket, but I thought he would get more opportunities going down the line. And as well as someone like, I feel Ryan Rickleton as well is someone that maybe could have made the squad too. I'm seeing that he's part of the test setup already. It would have been easy just to keep him in the ODI squad, I feel. But seeing that this is going down to Cape Town, they're keeping some consistency probably from the Netherlands as well. Seeing the likes of Wayne Parnell getting selected. And there are a lot of players of color selected in this particular squad this time around. So that's a good thing as well from that perspective. But looking at this ODI squad, I think this is a very important series for the likes of Aiden Markram, who in this particular format is also being questioned. He's been questioned before every single format is played, though. So that's an obvious thing to happen. His ceiling is very high, and obviously there's a lot of pressure on him to be the next main superstar in our generation of cricket. So I'm excited to obviously see the likes of maybe Zubair Hamza getting a more regular time in the ODI setup, seeing that he did perform quite well with Kyle the last time around. But we'll have to wait and see what that 11 looks like and how they're going to balance everybody. Nice to see so many seaming all-rounders available. We've been looking for seaming all-rounders for a very long time. And I think this is a nice opportunity to test them against some of the best players in the world. So I'm going to start with you, Werner. I would like to get your thoughts on the squad, and then we can go to Aaron and then Aditya.
Yeah, not too many surprises. I do agree with Markram being under pressure to perform in the ODI lineup if he does get a chance. Looking at that squad, it has to be Malan and Verreynne opening, and then and then Bavuma at 3 and Rassi. So it'll be interesting to see if Markram actually plays.
Did you say Yanaman and Verreynne opening?
Did I say Verreynne?
Yeah.
Malan and Quinny opening.
Yeah.
Whoops. I think I was scanning that quickly. I picked up the wrong name there. But yeah, no. Definitely not Verreynne, but that might make you happy.
You got my
Milan
heart
and
like
Milan and
racing, man.
Quinny,
I'm not sure.
and then Babuma and Rossi. It'll be interesting to see. Do they play Markram at 5? Do they just leave him out and keep him as a backup opener, and then just play maybe Hamza? But Hamza probably shouldn't also not would probably also not bat lower than 4 at the lowest, so he might sit on the sidelines for a while as well. And then Verena will also play, and then I guess we'll look to play a few all-rounders. Not sure what we'll go for. I would always play Pretorius. I feel he's a solid player. He's always performed for us whenever he's gotten a chance. So I would also always play him as one of the all-rounders at least. And then obviously KG and Giri probably pick themselves without Norkia there. And then yeah, we'll see how it goes if they do decide to rest them at some stage or not. Obviously, we still need very vital Super League points, and now I remember Adicha said this is not counting for the
No,
Super
no.
League, right? Okay, so then I remember now he did mention that. So we'll probably have a chance to try out a few guys, maybe rest KG and Lungi throughout this series and at one or two games. So yeah, but looking forward to it. It'll be a real test. India have a very strong lineup even without Rohit. Rohit didn't pass his fitness test, right? So he's not coming, and KL will be captain. So but they still have extremely strong ODI squad, probably stronger than ours. So it will be a very good test of our strength.
Yeah, Aaron, where would you bat our captain? Seeing that he's the captain of the South Timber in this particular setup.
Well, that's a tough question. Phew. I think for me, just get the squad back up again, Harlid. I just want to see something. All right, there we go. See, it's a toss up for me because I'd want to keep Van der Dusen at 4, and then you got Miller in there, got Markram as well. Goodness me, it's a tough one. I mean, if you're going to fit Timber in, he's the captain. Of course, he's going to be in the 11. But I think for me, ideally, he'd be at 3 or 4. The only question is, how do you get the balance of that top 5, though? It's a tough one.
Very tough one.
It is
So
a tough
you're
one.
gonna-
Who'd you drop?
Yeah, it is a
Because
really good
Yannaman
betting
Malan
betting squad.
has had a
At this stage,
fantastic
it
year in
probably-
50 over cricket.
It probably has to be Markram at this stage. He hasn't quite delivered in the ODI format just yet, so he's probably the backup at this stage. Malan has performed when he has gotten the opportunity. So if I look at it like that, it'll probably be Quinny and Malan opening with Temba, Rassi, and then Miller, and then Verena at 6, and then go the all-rounders. And probably with Kesh being the vice-captain, he'll probably play every game as well with Shamsi, so the 2 spinners, and then the bowlers. If I look at it like that probably Markram will be back up at this stage.
That's going to be an interesting one. Dropping a vice captain, or if the vice captain decides, look at, don't pick me, rather pick Shamsi because he's better, or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's an interesting one if they're only going to play with one spinner. So I don't know, Aaron. If you, because I mean, there's also a continuity over here from the Netherlands series. There's some guys that are overlapping, obviously, that we never really got to see a completed Netherlands tour. But a lot of the guys that got picked in that squad have been selected for the squad too. So could it be possible to maybe see an experimental type of team in this particular series?
Potentially, now that we've got the context and, it's not for the Super League. But even so, South Africa have got to put in the right steps to qualify. Because at the moment, you're still out of the automatic qualification spot. So that is something to keep an eye on heading into the next few series. But in terms of the squad selection, we've already mentioned one person, Darren de Pavillon. I'm absolutely shocked not to see his name in that squad. I don't see what he's done to not be picked. And then at the same time, like the thing with Marco Jansen, I think he's a fantastic, fantastic player. But in list state cricket, has he delivered to the same extent as someone like Darren in 2021 or 2022, as we're in now? Another question as well for me, again, I think he's a fantastic T20 player, is Wayne Parnell. I mean, the stats speak for themselves in ODI cricket. He's got an excellent ODI record compared to some more inexperienced options. But in the last few seasons in county cricket, I'm talking about for Northamptonshire and Worcestershire, he hasn't been quite the same player in this day cricket. So I'm a bit surprised to see him in the squad again. But again, it might just be part of the bigger plan, mightn't it? The master plan of Boucher and Smith that we don't know about. But yeah, I do think Darren is desperately unlucky. And you mentioned about John, or you didn't want me to mention John Smuts. Was he not the equal fifth leading wicket taker in the last Momentum One Day Cup?
So Aditya, from your perspective,
Just saying, Khalid, stats don't lie. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Aditya, I want to ask you about the fact that South Africa have selected in this particular squad so many all-rounders, which is something that we always spoke about that we lack. I mean, I think that's brilliant for South Africa going forward. Maybe it gives an insight into what their thinking is behind it. But remember also, I see Muhammad Ali Alexander as well saying in the comment section about Boland Park. It is generally a slower wicket, so two spinners is always going to be option over there. And like I said about Newlands as well, it's not necessarily the same pitch that we know before. So two spinners could work there too, depending on how they prepare that particular pitch. But are you feeling? Does the fact that South Africa have selected so many all-rounders in this particular squad give you hope for that department in South African cricket?
There is hope, but the question is, how is South Africa going to use them? Because you look at the entirety of that squad, and it feels quite complete. But ultimately, performance is predicated on consistency, role clarity, and just execution. So, how does South Africa plan on ensuring that they can get the best out of all of these players in order to combat India, which is a strong ODI outfit? And again, we're talking about in previous conversations that we've had about South Africa's ODI cricket. We've talked about them being 280, 300 kind of squad, whereas the rest of the cricketing world has moved to 350, 360. And that's something that they're going to have to take into consideration with who they pick, because I saw somewhere in the comment section that Aiden Markram will have to be there because he fulfills that fifth bowler quota. So if that's the case, then Aiden Markram needs to be scoring 150 of 120 balls, because that he's capable of doing that. But ultimately, a lot of it is dependent on selection, how the management and Temba Bavuma feel like they can use players best.
Yeah, excellent points. Verna, I want to get final words from you and final words from you, Aaron, as well.
Right. Yeah, I agree with Aaron. With the players. We'll probably play the two spinners, but I also feel like Darren Republican missed out here. And I think we have gone to the extreme now with the all rounders, and I don't see why Mark Janssen and Wayne Parnell would both make it ahead of someone like Darren Republican, who is a very good bowler, has been in very good form in the domestic scene. Even somebody like Othniel Bartman, I don't know, maybe he's still injured. That's possible. But somebody like him is somebody I would have considered maybe even ahead of them based on how he has been playing in the domestic scene. So there is some questions. Overall, the squad looks fairly good. I wonder if Quinny will play the whole series. I was kind of surprised to see him in the squad. I was thinking maybe they'll give him some more time, and maybe they'll open with Malan and Malcolm or whoever it may be. So it will be interesting to see what his mindset is like coming back. Will he be free flowing? Will everybody just be happy, continue and say, okay, yes, he's part of the ODI and T20 squad now for the next 7-8 years, and that's that, or how it's going to be? Because I'd like to see him be focused more. He has been very, I don't know, a bit reckless, a bit. It's like he hasn't really had his head in the game for a while now. And hopefully now that he is like shifted off of the test format, he can bring some full focus into the limited overs format, because we know how good he is. We know the talent he has, how he could put fear into the opposition. So if he does play this whole series, I'd really like to see him go out on the attack against India, take the fight to them, but not be reckless. Make sure that he plays a long game, because he has the game. We remember how he started off against India, playing that, making that 3 back-to-back centuries, right? So he has the game to do that. He has the game to go on and play the big innings, not just dash a quick 30 and then that's good enough for the game. He is the one that should be taking us, making an 80, making centuries against India, because he has that ability. So that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, 100%, Werner. I would echo those words completely, and that's going to be an interesting series, isn't it? To be fair, it'll be interesting to see what combinations South Africa go for. And Aditya, just to go back onto that original point with Markram as the 5th bowling option, you don't think they're going to start with the all-rounders at 7, because you could have Milan, de Kock, Bavuma at 3, Van der Dusen at 4, Miller at 5, Rayner at 6. You think they could have someone like Dwayne Pretorius at 7, or would you want to balance it differently?
Definitely Pretorius at 7, and then another all-rounder at 8. If it's whether it's Andile or Parnau or Janssen or whoever they go with, that's how I would go. And then have the 2. Just see this. That's 7 and 8. Then you'll probably have the 2 spinners and another pace bowler, either KG or Lungi.
Yeah. Okay. I like that, Werner. I think that's a similar balance that I'd go for. So, yeah, looking forward to that ODI series. I still wish that Darren de Pavillon was in the squad. Still think he should get a chance, but again, that's out of our hands. And then, of course, the Test series, which is the immediate one, isn't it? And I think it's going to be a great, great Test match. I can't wait for it. I love games at the Wanderers. I really do. I think back to the South Africa-Pakistan Test. I'll never, ever forget that bowling spell from Duane Olivier. That's probably why I wanted to play. I might be a bit biased when I say that, but it was just engrossing cricket. And here in England, where it's quite dull, it's quite dreary at the moment. Okay, it's not quite snowing here, but it's very wet, it's very windy. It was quite nice seeing a nice baking hot Johannesburg, in these cold, dark, wintry months. So I'm looking forward to it. May the best team win. If we're going to predict a result, I do fancy an Indian victory. I'm going to be honest. I do think that if South Africa choose the right attack, they can bring themselves back into this series very, very nicely indeed. But I just feel like at the Wanderers, it's 2022 now. You can go big if you get in on that surface. And a certain someone, Virat Kohli, didn't convert in 2021. And it reminds me of Joe Root in 2020. I'm not saying he's going to go on and score 1,600 runs. But, after a player of that calibre, that esteem, that quality, that ilk, has a bit of a rough patch, they tend to come back fighting and even stronger. So, yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, Virat can also score some runs.
Final word from you, Aditya.
May the best team win.
I just like to say one more thing. I sort of went off track there. We were on the ODI squad. I kind of forgot we were still talking about the test tomorrow. I would love to see Aiden Markram and Dean Alger put up a proper partnership. Really, that's one of my big wishes. Put up a 50 partnership. Even that would be good enough for me at this stage. I would take anything than being less than 10 runs and having one of them gone already. It has been a big frustration of mine, and whoever is batting at 3, whether they go with the way we've been thinking and put Peterson at 5 and bat Rassi at 3 and Temba at 4, or Peterson bats at 3, whoever, or Rickleton comes in and bats at 3, whatever they decide at the end, I just want our openers to put up a proper partnership. So yeah, and then just something to keep in mind. I know, Aaron, you're talking about you can't put up big rounds at the Wanderers. It really depends. This season that hasn't been possible in the basic cricket. Also, it has a lot to do with how the Lions have been bowling, because they've been bowling every team out for less than 180. So it has been no way anybody has been getting big scores there. So it really depends. If we bowl the way we bowled the first at Centurion, that might happen again. We really need to hit the ground running this time. We've had finally had some match practice, you could say, in the first test because we came in cold, we bowled poorly that first day, and we probably lost that whole test match on the first day. So tomorrow, whether we bat first or bowl first, we need to hit the ground running. I think it might not even be a bad toss to lose because even though at Centurion, the first day is going to be slow and it speeds up and then it becomes uneven. The Wanderers is a bit different. It's not quite the same. And it moves quite a bit on day one as well. So it's a tricky one to decide whether you want to face it up first, bat first. And it could be a big call. You could be bundled out for 120. Or you can bowl first and you bowl badly and you can go for plenty because it's a good pitch to bat on if you get in and the bowlers bowl badly and it's a quick outfield. So the Wanderers is quite a tricky one. So I would rather lose the toss and not have to make that decision at the Wanderers because the Lions have been bowling first at the Wanderers. They've not been batting first like that has been done at the Centurions. They've been bowling first, bowling teams out for less than 180, tried to scrape about 300 runs if they can. A lead of over 100 at the Wanderers could be match defining, basically. So it's going to be a game of fine margins, and the Proteas are really going to have to hit hard.
Just to quickly touch upon that, Khalid, I know you want to end the show, but let's say you did have, the toss, you've won it, right? From a South African perspective, and Aditya, I suppose you can give us an Indian perspective as well. Would you bat first, or would you, play it safe and bat second? What would you rather do?
Who wants to go first?
Now that's a problem for tomorrow, isn't it?
Look, in an ideal situation, India would probably want to bowl first, but given the sort of leadership that India have had over the last few years, the team is basically prepared for any eventuality, right? I think in 2017-18 they had batted first at the Wanderers and won. So I don't think it'll make a difference either way, but in an ideal scenario, they probably want to bowl first.
I'll be hoping that if they do bowl first, that it will give them extra confidence if they can get India out for a lower total. So I would probably go with our strength first, just to give ourselves confidence, to shoot some confidence into the side from that perspective. If we lose wickets quickly on opening day, with those Indian bowlers that can swing a ball from fifth stump to leg stump, then I mean you never know what Aiden and Dean will be able to do there. So I think they'll have to learn from how India approaches it. I think that will probably be South Africa's best option.
Interesting. Werner, I do have a stat actually. I'll save the stat. Go on, Werner. What do you go for?
It is a really, really tough one. I would like us to bat first generally and want us to put up a big score and then put the opposition under pressure and hope that the pitch becomes uneven like it did in Super Park when it becomes hard to bat. But I don't see it being anywhere close as bad as the pitch we played on in 2018, where you definitely did want to bat first because then it became a nightmare later on. So I figured the pitch would be a bit more even. So it really is touch and go. I would bowl first if we have the right lineup. So if we have Willie Fear and we have Ngidi and Rabada and Janssen and they come in firing, I would bowl first personally.
And also remember the groundsman at Wanderers now. So world-class groundsman, likes pitches that are equal and even between bat and ball, generally speaking. If it's possible for him to be able to dictate that type of pitches and create those type of pitches, he's always liked the contest. So that's how it used to be at Newlands, and now at the Wanderers, I'm sure he'll be doing exactly the same thing. So
interesting. Do you want to know the stat? Do you want to know the split between batting first and batting second? One of them nearly 67%, the other one just 22%. Teams batting first in the last decade, or last 12 years now, since 2010, the team batting first has won 67% of the games at the Wanderers, compared to just 22% for teams batting second. But this is the danger, isn't it, for both captains? Because let's be honest, for both teams at the moment, the strength is with the ball in hand. Do you play to your strength or do you play based off of history? Now, history is there to be made. history can be broken, stats aren't everything. So something for the two captains to mull and ponder over. But will be interesting, won't it? Let's say in a few days' time, and one of the captains elected to bowl first and bat second. If they lose, yeah, there might be a bit of analysis there at stake.
Which is why I said it would be probably preferable to lose the toss and
Yeah.
not have to make the decision.
Exactly.
Have to face up to the journalists asking you all the tough questions, like they know everything about cricket, know everything that goes out in the middle.
So that's a great way to end off this particular episode, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. Smash the like button and click subscribe as well if you're new. And subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly as well. The link is in the description. Every issue, every back issue is 100% free, including the latest issues. So go ahead and download that straight away. We'll be back again tomorrow with a review show. So please stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoy the test, that it's going to be a good one for South Africa's point of view. And we can all sit here happy. Yeah. I always count at each other's emotions in between, so you'll be happy nonetheless. So guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you again tomorrow with another show. Take care.